Okay. Hi, and welcome to another Hill and Ponton Q&A session here. I am Matthew Hill, here representing Hill and Ponton, and I got good news and bad news. The bad news is Carol Ponton is not with me today, and she won't be with me for a couple, I think 2 or 3 weeks, maybe she's on vacation. The good news is she'll be back. So hopefully I'll be able to answer questions and give you guys some feedback that helps and helps propel your cases forward. So let me there was a couple questions, or at least 1 or 2 that I didn't get to last time that I wanted to make sure did get answered. And maybe it's just one. It says, can you bring last minute evidence to CMP exam and will it be considered? You can bring, you can, yes is the answer to that question. Bring whatever evidence you find relevant and that you want the doctor to consider. You just don't want to bring too much. Just bring the exact things you want the doctor to look at, okay? So let's see, going back up to the top, Rodney, I am glad you're able to join us. I know the stream jumps all around, and I would, if you're not already, I'd recommend, I can't remember the sequence here. If you like the channel and then hit the notification button, I think that will, subscribe to the channel, sorry. That will allow you to be able to get on and get notifications. I try to do this at the same time every week, but my schedule, it's not always mine to dictate, and I kind of have to go around other folks in the VA, frankly. So anyway, if you do that, subscribe and the notification button, I think that'll let you know exactly when I'm on. Okay, so Nicholas, I never been diagnosed with constant blood pressure readings in the military of hypertension. Now, 11 years later, I had an EKG showing enlargement of left atrial. Is it possible to get service connected? That is hard. The VA is going to say if you never had hypertension as a diagnosis in service, then you didn't have hypertension, which, the hypertension you have now could have led to this heart problem. I still think you can win. You need a doctor to say that that high blood pressure was frankly how would you say this, like the origin or the genesis of you getting hypertension, even if it was 11 years later, but you definitely have to have a doc, and they have to do a little bit of research on this to make sure they have medical research to put this on. Not an easy case, but I think it is doable. John, 27870. I had a video conference with the BVA. How long does it take after to hear from the BVA? John, I don't know. These are the $1 million questions with these time limits. They're just not coming back quickly. They're not giving us the data they used to give us to tell us how long it's going to take. So I don't have an answer for you there. Alonzo, I have a dilemma. I need to file TDIU for 70% PTSD. I want to file presumptive for asthma. I fit the criteria. I also have new claims. Do I file all 3? Yes. Tom, Anita Wilson, still no word out of the judge. It's a hurry up and wait. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for you all to be in the system so long, get some kind of interaction, and then here you are waiting again. But that's what I'm seeing again and again. Andres, sorry. When my doctor fills out a 21-2680 aid attendance form, will I need to wait for a CMP exam, or is this granted right away? In theory, it should be granted right away if you have a favorable, they're still called those disability benefits questionnaires, DBQ. But a lot of times what I see is they still send you to a CMP. Makes more work for them, makes it longer for you. It's a pretty frustrating process, but hopefully they would grant it to you. What I've seen is that they still send you out to CMP. Louis C. So the VA finally assigned me to someone for a decision, my BSO said. She said that it takes about 6 weeks, but they also have to request info. Did the split my claim too? Just trying to think here. I don't know, Louis, where you are. If you're at the supplemental lane, hopefully, you should get that. I've seen 3 weeks to 3 months as far as decision. If you go up to the higher level review, I'm seeing those turn around again, 3 weeks to about 3 months. If you go to the board, that's going to take some time, and that's just really hard to predict right now. I found that on the first 2, the supplemental claim and the higher level review, those are great for quick decisions. Those decisions aren't necessarily completely accurate, and that's what we keep seeing. The cases we have, they get maybe one part right, but they screw up the effective date. They get a rating right, and so we have to appeal to the board where they know more about the law. This new setup is frustrating to me because I don't think they're not doing enough at the regional office. They give a quick decision, And you'll hear plenty of vets say, hey, I got a really quick decision, but what I see is that quick decision is not accurate. And so it's almost like a false hope or a false sense of timing, maybe. Okay, sorry, I got distracted there. Nicholas, if you disagree with the findings of your decision letter, do you disagree in a personal statement or elsewhere? Told I didn't have complaints in service, which are actually in my STD. So you disagree on their form. Totally blanked on the form name, but if you're working with a BSO or somebody, or you just go online to the VA, you'll see what the form number is. You cannot just write a statement. They will not accept it anymore. And I would, STRs are not the only place that could be. It could be in your service records proper. It could be buddy statements. It could be performance record. Jamie, how do you file secondary claims? Should I just address using a VA 214138 and say that I'm claiming my migraine secondary to PTSD? You can do that. I think on the form itself where you file the supplemental claim, you can actually put in there, I have migraines secondary to PTSD. You can also just claim migraines on that form and then later follow up and say, these could be related to service or they could be related to my PTSD. I would just be cautious on buttoning yourself in on it just being secondary, because there could be an angle that it's primarily related to service. But yeah, you can write a follow-up letter, 4138, to say this is why I think this is when it happened, this is how I think it's related to PTSD, and go from there. Bobby Bow, hello, I'm service connected for PTSD. I submitted a claim for sleep apnea and hypertension. Okay, Bobby, I just want to make sure there's no, okay. My CMP is tomorrow. What can I expect from this exam? Both claims are secondary to PTSD. Unfortunately, Bobby, I just see them deny sleep apnea as just kind of a rule. They ignore the evidence out there. They ignore the medical research. They ignore the fact that these claims have been granted by the Board of Veterans Appeals again and again and again. So I would just brace yourself for that. As far as the hypertension, that goes either way. I mean, I've seen them grant that. I've seen them deny it. So you just got to see how that goes. That is you have a much higher likelihood of getting that granted than the sleep apnea. Okay, I think I skipped a couple. Nicholas, I'm rated 30% for PTSD, but after was diagnosed with chronic insomnia. Since I have only to get one rating for a mental health condition, is there any reason I should file for insomnia? No, the 30% itself covers the insomnia, but you need to focus on any other issues: anger, isolation, inability to maintain relationships, having trouble at work. If you have any of those issues, you need to focus on that with PTSD. Clifford Price, thanks for all your knowledge. I got 100%. Hey, good to hear, Clifford. Glad you got what you're fighting for, and thank you for your service. Jeremy Thompson, my original claim, issue 9, was insomnia disorder, intending, evaluated, diagnosed, compensable for probable OSA. I clarified in supplemental claim as issue 20, but I see how my request wasn't clear. Okay, this is 1 of 2. Second part is, let's see. In my original claim, issue 9 was insomnia disorder, blah, blah, blah. They ultimately, okay, I clarified supplemental claim. They ultimately lumped my insomnia disorder into my mental health diagnosis and gave me 30%. I'm not sure if trying to fight for an evaluation for sleep apnea is possible going back to the original claim date. Okay, so if you have a CPAP machine, you need to fight for this. If your sleep apnea is just interrupting your sleep, frankly, they're probably just going to give you that 30% rating that would be covered under the PTSD anyway. But if you keep fighting it and you get granted, then it should go back to that first claim. As long as that claim, I think you filed a supplemental claim within a year, which was, you were more just kind of clarifying what was going on versus adding new evidence, but I think that should go back. I'm sorry, let's see, where am I over here? Alexandri the Great, supervisor that raped me gave me an STD for life. I tried getting more than 0% today on my comp and pen. I don't think they will give it to me. Any advice? Sorry that you had that happen to you. First of all, that is absolutely awful. My advice would be, if it's a lifelong STD, the diagnosis itself would probably be rated at 0. What you need to do is show how that affects you when the disease manifests, okay, or when the, when it's florid, okay. If it affects your ability to get around, if it affects your, there's problems with it, the VA has to rate it when it's in a problematic state. If you go in right now and the disease is dormant, the VA says, oh yeah, you've got this, that's it, no problems from it. That's an invalid, violating their own regulations, CMP exam. They have to either examine you when it's in florid or manifesting the problems of the disease, or they have to listen to you, or you write out a statement as far as what happens when it is in that state. Okay, so right now you are rated for the diagnosis at 0%. That's not accurate if you have any kind of residuals or problems due to that. Okay, so that's what you want the VA to understand as far as what you're going through. Okay, Rodney, I can't say your last name, sorry. I had my VSO file a claim for insomnia secondary to pain, but he put it secondary to PTSD. Am I looking at the problem, or am I looking at a problem, or do you need to file again? If you have PTSD, no. If you, I guess what I'd want to know, Rodney, and Efrain, if you'll check this for me for later, are you rated for either of those? Are you rated for pain, or are you rated for PTSD? Because frankly, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you're rated for one or the other for that secondary, because PTSD and pain, they're pretty much going to lump into a mental health code. Excuse me. And so getting secondary to that shouldn't be shouldn't hurt you. But if you want to be cautious, then what I would say is that you just write a letter saying, or this could be related to my secondary to my pain. But you need both those service connected first. All right, Lauren G, is it better to service connect via secondary? It just depends. Sometimes it's a lot easier, but it just depends on the disability. If it's a natural disability like neuropathy with diabetes, yes. Radiculopathy with lumbar back pain, yes. Sleep apnea, that could stand on its own, or it could be secondary to PTSD. They're going to fight you hard on that secondary angle, though. Okay, let's see. Jamie, thank you. Jamie, thank you, and Carol and the rest of your team for serving veterans. Highly appreciated. I appreciate that. I'll pass that along to Carol as she has a great vacation, and I'm left here working. But I'll be excited to have her back doing this with us. Elma Wilder, I went to the VA regional office in Missouri for them to push my claim through. Efrain, is there a second part of that? Just not seeing it. There's a second part. Hopefully we'll grab it, and then I'll be able to answer your question. Ricky Ruku, if you don't remember the date and the incident happened, in my case, 78 or 79, can that slow down a claim? Will they search for it or deny me outright? So, Rick, what they typically do is they want within a month period, which to me is absurd, especially when we're talking 42, 43 years ago. So the more you can do to narrow it down, the better. Otherwise, you're going to have to be the one to search for your whatever records, after action report, your service records, the names of somebody who was killed, whatever it was that happened, you're going to have to go to the National Archives and search for that. The problem right now is the National Archives is saying they're backed up 2 to 3 years because they've had so many requests and have so few people working due to COVID. So the more you can narrow that down, the better. My personal thought is, just from doing this for over a decade, is that is just so hard to do because people go on living their lives, they go on doing their things, and they can't say this happened on November 3rd, 1979. So I would not stop fighting, but the more you can kind of close that window, the better. Jeremy Thompson, have anxiety, major depression, disorder, PTSD, rating of 30%, but have some prior issues with suicidal ideation. Was told that's very low considering my symptoms. Should I appeal? Yes. Again, 30% is for flashbacks. It's for night terrors. It's for insomnia, inability to sleep. Okay. If you have any problems with authority, if you have problems with making friends, if you have problems with being around people, if you have just a need to be as isolated as often as possible, or just are curmudgeon, those are issues that get you to 50 and 70%. Excuse me. PT or suicide obviously is much higher. That's an automatic 70% as well. Okay, I'm afraid to fall because I don't want to get denied because of this. I only have blue button records. Rick, I'm afraid to file, I guess, because I don't want to get denied because of this. I only have blue button records. Rick, you're telling me 79. I mean, here's my thought on filing. You know, if you have a disability you think is related to service, you represented our country. Some of y'all fought for our country and bled for our country, okay? File the claim. That's what I say, you know, file the claim. Now, if you go in and you're working with someone and says, hey, let's file anything and everything that's wrong with you, from the PTSD to the hangnail, you know, get rid of the claims that aren't related to service, or that you're thinking in your head, there's no way this is related to service or secondary to any service claim, okay? Focus on what happened. But once you have that, don't shy away from it just because VA can't find your records, you don't have that. Focus on the claim and then figure out a way to try to get those records or whatever you need to get service connected. Carol were here, she probably would say just file everything. So glad she's not here because I don't agree with that. All right, so James Sellers, can I claim type 2 diabetes secondary to hypertension, high cholesterol? James, I don't know. That's a medical question. It's beyond my reach. I would say file it. Hypertension is just a awful disease. It affects, it's so insidious. Like it affects your whole body almost without you knowing it. So yeah, I would file that. I don't know the math. I don't know the science behind that though. Let's see, Bill McGrath. I'm going to claim sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. Should I also file secondary to my IBS tinnitus? Yeah, file it all, because my Lord, it's hard to get it secondary to PTSD, even though they should give it to you. And those issues can definitely affect your sleep. So yes, file whatever you can. The Flyer PR 40D, telehealth DBQ for PTSD with a private psychiatrist. VA didn't use it for rating. I sent for higher level review. VA did not accept the DBQ because it was done via Video Connect. Can I request a judge review this? Yes, this is what I'm seeing. That is a violation of their regulations. That is absolute nonsense. Half of the CMP exams they're doing right now are going towards video, but they're saying, oh, only our examiners are qualified enough to do a video, not private examiners. Total hogwash. The board, you will have a judge who's an attorney who understands the law, who understands they can't just write something off like that, because they will get basically reversed right away from the court of the CAVC, the Veterans Court. So that's why most of my cases are going to the board, because we're getting just ridiculous statements like this. They're violating their own regulations. So anyway, yes, sorry for the long talk. Go to the board. John Price, I have ankylosing spondylitis and psoriatic arthritis and DDD diagnosed, 70% disability for anxiety and depression, sleep apnea, hypertension. Should I file primary or secondary to one of these conditions? I guess I'm not quite understanding. You have 70% disability for anxiety and sleep apnea and hypertension, and you're looking to file these arthritic conditions and the degenerative disc disease secondary. I don't know that you can do that. I've not seen that before, as far as filing an orthopedic claim secondary to a mental health and sleep apnea claim. So if that's what you're asking, that sounds kind of hard, unless you got in an accident because of your depression. That's the only real way I'd see that. David Medrano, did I had another follow-up here. Okay, Rodney had a follow-up question. You said to let you know from previous question, I'm rated 70% for PTSD, 50% for migraines, which are both service-connected. VSO put claim for insomnia for PTSD, wanted it for back pain that is service-connected. Okay, if you're 70% for PTSD, there's no claim for insomnia there, because that's covered in a 30% rating for PTSD. But if you're 50, so you're like 85%, should be rounded up to 90%. So if you're having trouble working, the claim to me would be to file for unemployability there. So, okay. Let's see, John, David. David, let's see, will the VA ask for my secondary? Will the VA still ask for CMP if my secondary migraines has a diagnosis, treatment records, migraine log, And personal statement, yes, because they're going to want a doctor to say this is directly related. That's, they're just dotting their I's, crossing their T's typically. Jerry means, I had a rule in my favor for my ankle, then they gave me 0%. What do I need to do to get a percentage? You need to appeal. Efrain, if you could throw up the rating schedule on here, you need to look and see how an ankle is rated. I would take that to your doctor if you have a doctor and say, where am I on this, doc? What kind of range of motion do I have? What, tell me about what the limitations are, do the pain, what would a normal ankle do? And once you get all that, then you'll be informed as far as what the ratings are, and you want to put that in as an appeal for an increased rating. Smooth sailing. Hello, I have a diagnosis of gout. I submitted a claim for gout secondary to my knees osteoarthritis. They included or just piggybacked my gout disease to my osteoarthritis. So this is another one where you want to go to that Warm's book down there. Efrain just threw up. You need to see what are the symptoms of your gout versus the symptoms of your knees. Pull them apart and say, VA, this is what you rated for my knee. This is what's going on with the gout. You need to give me a separate rating. Apostles Doctrine 144. How do asthma claims work? Need clarification, please. I need more info on that. I mean, are we talking service connection? You got to show that you're exposed to something, or that the asthmatic attacks or the lungs started in service as far as weakening of lungs. Afterward, you need to look at the ratings. And again, I would go down there. Again, that link he put is for all the ratings they do across all body systems. So you'd want to look at that and see how it's done. Okay. John, I have a Nexus letter from an IMO, 2 doctors plus buddy statement. Question is, what are the odds of getting approved? I mean, here's the thing. If you've got thorough statements, meaning the doctor says, I reviewed all his records, I talked to him, I examined him, this is my opinion, and then here is why. That is a solid opinion. Now, a lot of times they go out and get their C&P examiner to say, well, I read these and I don't think it is a good opinion. At that point, you would need one of your doctors or both of your doctors to rebut that. But if you have that, I think you do have a good opinion. This is for sleep apnea secondary to tinnitus. I think you should have a good shot there. If you don't get it at the regional office, you need to go to the board. It's really easy. These cases where the VA is pumping out, okay, at the regional office, the supplemental claims, the higher level review, really easy to pump out denials. Okay, really easy to pump out partial grants or just totally miss the point grants, meaning they give you, like the folks here have gotten 0% for a rating, which is just ridiculous when they're having symptoms. So the regional office is good at getting fast claims, but they get them wrong. And so just think with most of your cases, you're going to probably have to go to the board. Let's see. Jay Thompson's taken 24 months, still no updates on my supplemental claim. Supplemental claim, I would definitely be filing, hey, where is this? Just a letter saying, I filed this X months ago, what's going on? Why haven't you given me a decision? That's one where I'd almost worry they mailed it to the wrong person. The laugh, I see that, and it's frightening because then they put the blame on you saying, oh, well, should give us proof that we filed to the wrong place. Okay. Let's see. Bobby Bowe had sleep study done. My PTSD has been giving CPAP machine. My sleep apnea has been aggravating my PTSD. That's a non-service connected issue, aggravating a service connected issue. That doesn't help you so much. So again, you need to fight just to get that service connected, and then maybe you get the ratings up from there. Do you help with claims? This is Quang Lee, sorry, for CRSC. Not directly, no. We combat related claims. What we end up doing is we win our veterans benefits, just straight disability benefits through the VA system. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that gets coded as a combat related issue. So, let's say Agent Orange, no matter where you're exposed to Agent Orange, that's considered a combat related disability. So if we get a veteran 60% for combat related, let's say diabetes and neuropathy and all that, they will then go back, and if there's an offset taking place with the DoD, they'll go back and say, look, this has actually been combat related. It goes back however many years, and they will make an adjustment there. CBR, 1 of 2, sleep apnea with CPAP, secondary to tinnitus. C&P examiner was a nurse with less than stellar background, opined that my diagnosis was as least as likely as not, then claim denied. Board certified MD provided diagnosis, outside exam, submitted to HLR now. Any advice on key points for moving up to the HLR chain? Okay, so first of all, if you submitted that after the, hopefully you submitted that before there was a decision, because if you submitted that before a decision, you asked for higher level review, all of that's in the record, they have to count it. I would ask for a hearing with that higher level review officer and say, look, here's what my doctor said, here's what this nurse said. Clearly she was confused, or the rater was confused, because it seems to all the evidence, strong evidence at the least, points to me being service connected. I think that's a great place to use higher level review, because they can understand that. If the evidence is in the record, hopefully you get the proper rating there, and that takes you 3 months versus having to go to the board, which takes you, I mean, it's going to be 3 years before you know it. So again, hopefully you put that in there, because that could be great. John Johnson, yo, good morning. Thank you for all the content you guys put up. Thanks, John, that's nice of you. Bill McGrath, VA sending me back 3rd time, same exam for degenerative arthritis, cervical spine and Gulf War medicine. Any idea? Can't get an answer. The spine, I don't understand. That's straightforward. Gulf War is tricky. Their regulations are so bizarre. They get the doctor to give them one thing, and the doctor screws it up. Those I've seen take 2 or 3 times before. That would be what I would, if you're going back again, that would be the one that I see. With the spine, I don't know. I mean, come on, that's a layup. That's like just range of motion. It's, where's the pain? Does it, is there radiculopathy down the shoulders? So I don't know what's going on if that's the one that's sending back for. Rodney, you said to let you know the previous, okay, Rodney, we answered that. Smooth sailing. How come they keep piggybacking my gout current disease? Am I missing this? Because I think, I did answer that one. Jack, put in supplemental claim VA.gov and saying, we don't know your status. Almost a month. Is this normal? Called VA line looking for the DBQ, had DBQ from CNP in April. It's normal that after a month, they would still be saying we don't know where it is, or it got sent to our mailing system, but it's not in our system yet. Unfortunately, that's not. That's unfortunately that's not uncommon. But I think you're right to keep on calling. I would call every 2 weeks just to see what's going on, just so they know you're not going away. John Johnson, I'm curious if offer free case evaluations on your site if you decide to accept a case. How are fees handled? So there is a free case evaluation on our site. You put in some information or you call. I don't know what the phone number is, but there's a phone number to call. And if we decide to take a case, we don't take any money up front, and we don't take any money if we don't win any benefits. What we end up doing typically is a lot of times is we try to find an outside medical exam, because I've just found CNP examiners are not particularly good. And we pay for that up front. That could be anywhere from $1,500 to sometimes $3,000. And then the end, our fee, if you actually win, would be 30% of any retro benefits you get. And we just ask that you pay back the cost of the exam. And we wouldn't get an exam until we talk to you. So that's kind of how we work. It's basically you don't pay us unless you get paid. So that's that. But if you look on the website, actually, Efrain, if you could throw that up, there's a link to the evaluations. Roy, if you're on track for a possible 100% scheduler and are waiting for a TDIU decision, how do they proceed? They should still be proceeding with both. I mean, because if you don't get the 100%, then the IU should still be in play. If you get the 100%, they need to decide if it's a scheduler 100%, that's one thing. But if it's a combined 100%, if they find that one of those disabilities in and of themselves causes you to not be able to work, this is Carol's favorite subject, you should get IU for that, and the potential for a higher SMC-S, meaning you get more money, showing that you're what's housebound is what they call it. But essentially, if you have one disability that's 100% or IU and other disabilities that combined 60%, then you should get that higher level above 100%. So both should stay in play until one is granted at the least. The Flyer Pro, man, you've got fraud. Thanks for answering the private PTSD question. Should I request an opinion, one direct review by the judge? If everything is in the file, then yes. If you don't have everything in the file already, then I'd say no. I would also say this: if you have a great DBQ and they made you get a CMP exam, I'd want to see the CMP exam first. If there's something the CMP examiner addressed that your doc might not have been, exact on, that's at issue, then I would want a follow-up from my doctor. I would want just, a paragraph or two. Hey, your examiner said this. Well, this is why he's wrong. If you do that, though, you knock yourself in the VA into the evidence lane. So which is going to take longer. So there's some trade-offs there, unfortunately. Vincent, how strong is my case if I only note on my exit exam but not complaining during my time in service? Hey, that's something to latch on to. It's stronger than if you didn't do it. You get that, you get a doctor, talk to him, write out a statement what was going on. I'd take that any day over nothing. And unfortunately, a lot of times I get where vets tell me all the bad things that happened in service and there was no notes whatsoever and we can't win it. Jeremy, if you had greater issues with asthma, allergies, sinusitis from burn pit exposure, but conditions lessened with nasal surgery and service, still have minor issues, should I refile for service connection? Yes, and you should get service connected with the rating at which you are currently having the disabilities. All right, let's see. Fritz, I was approved for TDIU at 80%. The VA just approved several claims I had pending. Rather than give me SMCS, they just increased the percentage at 90%. What should I do? So again, if the TDIU is for one disability, let's say you had a 60% rating for your back, okay? That was just for your back, and then you had these other ratings, okay? If those other ratings combine to 60%, then you should get SMCS, okay? If they do not combine, then you don't get it, okay? But you would need to press this. Sometimes, and by pressing this, I mean say, I want my TDIU to be related to just this one disability. I want you to look at this. And if it is, I want to get the higher SMCS rating. Dimitri B, I accidentally refused a CMP exam and then requested re-exam. IRS answered it was supposed to be ACE, but VES had no authorization for ACE. I asked multiple times to reschedule. Crickets. I think you're going to just need to keep following up on that. Unfortunately, they probably don't even really know what to do internally for that. That's unfortunate. I would keep following up, or if you have a VSO, ask them to as well. Michael Gomez, Mike, my PTSD diagnosis as bipolar 3 years ago, but bipolar is not a disability to the VA. Why is this? Thank you. Okay. It is a disability that the VA will recognize. Interestingly enough, the most common ages for bipolar to manifest, I think, are from 18 to 26. And if you think about for men, if you think about that, that's when most men serve. So that's unfortunately a very common diagnosis for mental health. At this point, if you're service connected for either one of those, I know this kind of sounds weird, but the diagnosis itself does not matter. What matters is you get the correct rating. VA would love you to fight them on the diagnosis all day long, because that means they keep the money that they owe you, no matter what your diagnosis is, under that code, because there's only one code for mental health conditions. So you could have schizophrenia, PTSD, anxiety, depression, bipolar. It doesn't matter. If you have a diagnosis that's service connected, what you need to focus in on is getting the rating you deserve. We're talking about service connected compensation, okay? And folks can get caught up on the service connection part, and the VA wins on the compensation part. All right, live, love yourself. I'm applying for IU. VA keeps requesting 4192s twice from my employer. They have not responded. VA says it was returned as undeliverable, and they sent it to another address I don't recognize. Is that normal for them to change the address and keep requesting this from, even though the employer is not responding? They request 2 or 3 times, I think, but in the end, it does not matter. It's a medical question. So, they want to know you're not working, but at the end of the day, what they need to find out is, does this keep you from working or not? Tatty Joe Kugler, Carol will be laughing right now. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at names. How do we get Agent Orange exposure at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida? My hubby was an aerial photographer and went on several sprayer flights in C-123s and helicopters, but it's not documented in his records. That's tough. They want to see, they admitted that it was sprayed in Eglin in certain years, so you'd want to see what those years were and look them up. I'd go to the VA website, and they actually go base by base in year, actually sometimes even month. And so if you can put him there when he was, let's see, if he was there when they say it was sprayed, he was aerial photographer, you show that that's what his MOS was. And then you say, look, this is what I was doing. This is where I was. He should have a good chance to win because all of that information circumstantially lines up. It's not going to be an easy case, but it's one that he should win. I believe he'd probably have to go to the board to win that. CBR, I had MD package in the original claim. Thank you. Ooh, okay. Oh, good. Yeah. So higher level review, I think that's what we're talking about. I really hope you win that, and I'd love to hear back from you on that because we're trying to figure out how to best win our vets claims at the regional office because the board's taking too long. And what we're just seeing, we're just not seeing quality decisions at the regional office, but you, from what you're saying, have a good claim put together. So, okay. James Bresseman, have you seen obtaining diabetes through intermittent obesity from a service-connected disabilities? They loathe this claim. So let me give you an example. A veteran has a lower back problem. It basically makes it so painful where the vet is essentially sitting on the couch all day. Okay, they can't get around. They're not exercising like they used to. They're probably eating like they used to, or even more. And before they know it, they're obese. If their diet is not great and high in sugar, then all of a sudden they can get diabetes. That is a service connectable claim. Okay, but the VA hates that. I had a claim. This is still at the board actually. I had a claim where I don't usually take those claims because I just, unless I have evidence, it's really a hard claim to win. But I had a claim where two different VA doctors put in his notes that this guy has diabetes because of the obesity that was caused by the lumbar spine. And he said, I want to file this claim. And I said, fine. I filed it, and the decision review officer back then laughed me out of the conference. And I said, look, I wouldn't have filed this if I didn't have evidence. And forget evidence. I have VA doctors who are treating him with this. And I actually, anyway, so those cases can be won by the board, and you need to have a very, very strong letter from the VA. All right. Alonzo, CMP examiner documented, more likely than not, claim denied with rater documenting, less likely than not. What would I do? If you had that as a supplemental claim, that's definitely a higher level review you want to take up because that's one that they should be able to get right. I mean, that's literally just reading the darn CMP exam. Bill, when I file secondary for sleep apnea to PTSD, IBS, tinnitus, so there's three separate claims, or it's one, is one claim for sleep apnea, and you were claiming three avenues to which to get service connection, okay? So one claim, the claim is just for service connection for sleep apnea, but you're saying here's the three different ways it could be service connected. Elma Wilder, I went to the VA regional office in Missouri in person, pushing my claim for TDIU, and she be done next week. The claim from December 2020. I would be following up on that. I don't know what's going on there. If you have a VSO, hopefully they could look online, or you could look online at it's vabenefits.gov, whatever the portal is, to see what kind of movement they have in your claim. But that's pretty old, in my opinion. It could be waiting for information back from your employers. I'm not sure. KLH, not sure how, but I put a claim in last Thursday for depression, and it's in this CMP exam yesterday. Faster turnaround than I expected, just an FYI. That's great. Hopefully they get it right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's faster than I've seen. I'm not gonna lie, Kale. That's impressive. But make sure they get it right, because I'm just seeing fast ones get turned around and get wrong. And by right, I mean not only they get it service connected, but they get the rating right and they get the effective date right. So the rating, should be as high as the symptoms you're having, and the effective date should go back as far as this claim stream is gone, meaning when you started the claim and up until you stopped filing appeals. Okay, Leonard Williams. I'm diagnosed with pulmonary arterial hypertension 2011, put in a claim with the VA under Gulf War, sickness, lung disorder, and was denied. Do I have a recourse? It's been 6 years after the denial. You need to reopen the claim. To reopen the claim, you got to have new and relevant evidence. So if you could have a statement saying this started after I was in the Gulf, that, you know, if the doctors can't say, hey, this is due to the fact that you have hereditary problems, you know, your dad had this, your grandfather had this, or it's due to the fact that after the war, you were smoking a lot or you were exposed to chemicals. If there's none of that, then you can say there's no known etiology, there's no known origin to this. And that's what you want to do to reopen. So yeah, I would keep going. You're welcome, Bill. 10 toes down. Veteran has 50% for flat feet. Rating decision includes a passage on 38 CFR 4.59. That's in Efrain, through that up there in the regs. If anybody wants to see this, painful joint and dementia is 10%. However, the 10% is not on the list of rated disabilities. Should it be? I believe that's 10% for each joint that is painful. So it is not on the list, but it's just saying how many joints you have that have painful motion. The 50% could cover that though, meaning if the 50% is meant to include pain on range of motion or pain of joints, then that's going to preclude you from getting 10% on the other ones. It's that time. Submitted a CMP, submitted for service-connected diabetes plus service-connected ED, separately received a rating for 20% for diabetes. It's that time. Did you have another question down here? I will say this, you never get a rating, meaning you never get like compensated 10% or something for ED. You get special monthly compensation for loss of use of an organ, which is, it's SMCK, and the rating is like 120, 150 bucks a month. Floyd, recall on many CPAP machines. Yes, this is frightening because VA uses a lot of these. Went to sleep clinic in Gainesville about 2 weeks ago, requested a DBQ from the clinic and have a CMP exam by phone tomorrow. Wow, shocked me. Man, this is great to see everybody getting these, the VA's moving. I'm, you know, let's see it. Let's see them keep on doing this. That's great. And again, just make sure that CMP exam is thorough. And for the rest of y'all out there, Floyd, I forgot the name of it. If you could put up the name or the names of the CMP, the CPAC recalls, our folks, when you call in, actually are now screening for this because it's become such a problem. And the VA was the last one to stop using these. So anyway, that's something to look out for because, you know, that's really frightening when you're sleeping and your CPAC machine malfunctions. All right. Yes, it's that time. The ED is not compensable by itself. It's just a SMCK. Zara I'm sorry, I can't get that last name. Examiner said she was going to have it signed by the end of the day. That's great if you guys are seeing these. I don't know what the motivation's going on right now in these CMP exams, but that's just wonderful. Maybe the fact that they're outside, maybe it's that. Outside examiner. So here we're coming upon the end of the fiscal year for the VA, which new fiscal year is October 1st. If they have a quota, I see this a lot in our decisions. We try to push really hard in September to try to get decisions made because everybody in the VA has a quota of things they're supposed to do. This is just kind of me free thinking, and I'm wondering if these outside medical CMP providers have to do the same thing. They have to show they did X number of CMP exams a year. So this might be a great time to apply. And again, y'all inform me as much as I give out here. So if you could keep me up to date on what's going on, I'm really fascinated by that. I seem to go on tangents. I'm sorry. All right. Oh man, we're almost done here. Shoot. All right. Let me answer a couple folks I haven't spoken with before. Okay. Michael, 100% P&T SMCS, 2 claims appeal. Is it possible for those 2 claims to get approved so that I could receive an earlier effective date for 100%? Always possible. FC Cook, I've submitted a claim for upgrade, including TDIU. They want me to have a form signed by my last employer. I was self-employed real estate agent. Do I fill it out myself? I would, unless you had a broker or somebody overlooking you. Akela McKenzie, I submitted a claim for Meniere's disease that was diagnosed through a private doctor. The doctor has sent all my paperwork to the VA. Is that hard to get approved? I hope not. If you have a doctor supporting you, you have a diagnosis, hopefully you have something shown to have something in service, then yeah, you should, you just got to show something to have in service, current disability, and then a nexus or a bridge between the two. Okay, NOAA in service records for elevated blood pressure, but not for hypertension, high blood pressure. Since service have been diagnosed with high blood pressure on meds, service connected, or should I file it second to someone else? You cannot get service connected compensation for high blood pressure. It has to be hypertension. So unfortunately, you gotta wait on that. Well, hopefully you don't have to wait on that and then you don't develop it. Okay, let's see. Can we show the Floyd email? Because I think that's great. Okay, another monitoring, handle this. Okay, Floyd just gave the information on the CPAP recall. Again, if you all have a CPAP, take care of this right away. You do not need further injury or grief from the VA. Okay, I got a couple minutes here. No, should I file? Yes, no, file that secondary. Let's see, V-SNEED, refiling a sinusitis that was not service connected on separation in 18. If I want to have another issue reevaluated like MST related PTSD, do I have them do it at the same time or wait for evidence? File them both now. You want the earliest effective date you're entitled to, so you got to file them both now. Send McQuery, hi, I received 10% rating for hypertension. On my decision letter, it says 20% is warranted if BP is 110 over 200. Mine has been monthly readings at a civilian pain doctor. Can I resubmit? Yes, that's new evidence. I'd resubmit it and do it within a year so you make sure you get the right effective date. Is there a COVID extension in place for intent to file? I have not seen that. I've heard rumors, if you will. I've heard them talking of it. I have not seen that. If anybody has, please put it in here and prove me wrong so that we're all on the same page, but I don't know of a specific memorandum that went around on that. Okay, I think I can do one last one. Is there an, oh man. John Yang, I'm on antipsychotic meds for my MDD. Should I file? If it's related to service or started in service, yes. Never went sick call on active duty. Did your work performance deteriorate? Do you have any friends that noticed that you did worse? Did you ever get disciplined after that? Those are the kind of things you want to look at there. Okay. All right. I am out of time, but I do have a special announcement here. My colleague, Allison Reddick, recently did an interview with a CMP examiner, a gentleman that we've actually, we haven't really worked with, but he's done videos with us in the past. But it's a sensitive issue, but it's one that if anybody has PTSD or they were ever assaulted in service, it's one that I highly recommend watching because he walks through from a CMP examiner standpoint how he looks at this issue and how he evaluates an individual from this issue. So important for you, the more knowledge you have, and that's what I try to give folks here, the more knowledge you have on your VA claim, the more likely you are to win, okay? This area is the most sensitive that I deal with individuals who've been attacked by folks in our own military. So to know what they're looking for, kind of how they're coming at it, you walking in already know that gives you knowledge that helps you hopefully win the claim, get the benefits you deserve, and then get the heck out of this claims process so you can go on and live your life. So I believe there will be a link in that coming up here on the chat screen if we do this right. So anyway, please, again, if that's at all pertinent to you, or even if you just want to know what a CMP examiner is thinking about, what does it look like when they're going into an exam or what their day looks like or whatever, it might be worthwhile you checking out. Otherwise, again, folks, if you do have more information, you're getting these claims back quickly, I'd love to know that on our weekly meetings here, because that tells me there's something going on, and I think that's really fascinating, and that educates me. Also, so I'm supposed to say, if you subscribe and ask for notifications, you'll get it right away when I'm up and going, and that way you won't miss this, because I'm not always at the right time. and my schedule kind of gets pulled away from me sometimes. So anyway, hope you have a wonderful week, and thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and comments.